Night Health continues. I'm Mark Alyn, along with the insane Daryl Wayne. We've got a real interesting segments coming up here. We're going to talk about health and astrology. And our guest is Betty Spencer. She's been, I guess, clairvoyant from an early age, maybe empathic as well. And we're going to find out about what it's like to have this ability and how it started and how it's impacted her life. She was born in Winnipeg, Canada. We have a lot of friends up there now, but she lives here in Southern California, and we're actually neighbors. Well, within 12 miles or so. Betty, welcome to Late Night Health.
Well, thank you, Mark. Glad to be here.
At what age did you go, nobody else saw that, nobody else thought that?
Well, I feel like we all have a little bit of, the telepathic sort of energy when it's needed or for some reason or another. And I think as a kid, the only thing I ever sensed about myself was the fact that I was sympathetic and empathetic to people, and strangely enough, people older than myself used to kind of tell me their problems, and I try to give them the best advice I knew how to at my age.
At what age was that?
Later on in life, when I actually used that ability, I realized that that's what probably led me to have this kind of higher consciousness, or whatever you want to call it. But I was not raised to believe in anything. I had the only psychic connection I ever had was having my teacups read in Winnipeg, Canada, when I lived there, and just having fun with it. But what happened later on in life, I had an 11-year-old son, a 6-year-old daughter at the time, and was sort of recently divorced, and went ahead and started to study astrology because I kind of had that interest in people and curiosity over the years, to the point where my daughter in later life said, "Mom, you're such a busybody. You're always watching people." And I thought, well, she might be right, but I had this insatiable curiosity. So the astrology kind of gave me, a sense of really wanting to work with people, and I was going for that certification. When, lo and behold, just out of nowhere, I started to receive phone calls kind of later in the day for a period of about 3 weeks. My kids were present, and it was always a male voice, very low-keyed, soft-spoken, and would say the strangest things. He'd say, "Well, Betty, I have a message for you." When I asked who it was, there was no answer, and they'd repeat it. And then they would, go on and say, well, the message was usually a very spiritual sort of thing, which I wasn't used to, but it was a little new to me, but it was inspiring. It didn't freak me out, strangely enough. Did my kids, though. And this went on for about 3 weeks, and the last call this person made to me, and I never did find out who. They never gave me an answer to anything but they wanted me to hear. And the last call was the message as usual, and ended with, "You will be given the gift to see into the future. Peace, and I thank you." I never heard from him again, and everything opened up for me, Mark. I knew things I couldn't have possibly known.
And at that time, was that technology? There wasn't any call.
No, I have no idea to this day where that came from.
And that was what, 40 years ago?
That was 40 odd years ago. Yeah, my son has grandkids at this time. Yeah.
You're a great grandma?
I'm a great grandma. A young one. Let's
yes.
Say that.
Oh,
married
absolutely.
Very young in Winnipeg, from the old school, you married young or you were going to be an old maid.
Got it.
I knew things that scared me because I said things that were way beyond anything I could even understand. And I became really aware of energies, just things I felt. And at that point, for one reason or another, I moved to Palm Springs and decided, just kind of intuitively, felt like I needed to put an ad in the desert sun and start doing readings. I just not really giving it any serious thought, just went ahead and did it. My first client was a really dignified lady, And when she came over, I went, well, I had bought a deck of cards. I didn't know that I could just be that clairvoyant that I became. And I, with little ballet dancers on the cover because that was a big passion of mine, ballet. So I turned the cards over, nothing. I got nothing. I was starting to panic when all of a sudden I said things I couldn't believe. And I went a little crazy with it because I used to keep people hours on end. I was so, overwhelmed with what I knew. And maybe charged them $5 or something.
I'm curious about something. So as this started, you still had young kids with you, right?
I did.
And did they go, "Oh, Mom"?
Well, I have to tell you, it's all crazy. My daughter was sort of fascinated because to this day she's very much an ardent believer in it, although she's an art historian. My son, who was very academic from the time he was a kid in black and white, freaked out. He wasn't happy with that at all, and actually went to live with his dad because we were divorced at the time. Mm-hmm. And of course I, didn't know what to do to correct that. He, found peace with it later on, and to this day has never said, "Mom, tell me something. I need a little insight." He wouldn't dare. But years of doing this and becoming a little bit successful with it, he kind of changed his mind. He's a lot more relaxed around me these days.
A lot more open.
Takes it for granted.
When you go out, when you meet new people, and you meet somebody, and you're at a party, okay?
Yeah.
And they say, and you say, "Oh, what do you do?" You might know in advance, but. And I'm being a smarty pants, but somebody says, "I'm a doctor or a lawyer," and you say, "Well, I'm a clairvoyant and I'm an astrologer." Do they go, "Whoa, woo, woo, woo"?
Some people do. Some people do, and some people say, "I don't know about that." And other people jump on it. More and more, I think, as the years have gone by, it's become, first it was like a fun thing. People hire them for parties, for entertainment. But it's become, people are more and more aware of it and more interested, and there are more people involved with this stuff than you could shake a stick at, really,
Oh, yeah, so, absolutely.
And astrology doesn't predict. It just impels. What astrology does is just kind of point you in the right direction, tells you what your what your aptitude is, what might be the best thing for you, what talents you might have, and trends, and it gives you somewhat an idea of time frame, but it never tells you like a psychic reading or I like to call it an intuitive or clairvoyant reading. It doesn't pin things down exactly. It just kind of leads you and directs you a bit. And I love astrology, but I have to be honest, I've become more of a clairvoyant than I am astrologer, although I use astrology with it because I love it.
Interesting. Our guest is Betty Spencer. Betty, what's your website, by the way?
It's I have to tell you, it's homespun. I did it. It's just it's very simple, and it's very much me, down to earth. So it's just BettySpencer.com.
BettySpencer.com if you want information. We'll have Betty's pretty picture at LateNightHealth.com as well, and also a link to her website. I'm curious about so many different aspects of this.
Sure.
So that if somebody is going to have a health issue or has a health issue, is having a clairvoyant reading a good idea?
Well, first of all, you never take the place of the doctor. You should never do that. Because I don't think anybody is 100% accurate. I mean, we're people and we have frailties. Even if you happen to have more accuracy than the next, clairvoyant, still no. What will you do when you sense something like that? And oftentimes you do. Thankfully, not as often, as all of that. But of course, over the years, many people have come with one problem or another. And if it's something traumatic, I honestly believe that this has to come from a higher source because I don't have that talent. How could your mind possibly pick up all this information about everybody you meet. It's virtually not possible. So I do believe in that, and I had to, even though I wasn't raised, I was raised very traditionally, and all I knew was holidays and stuff, but not religion. And so, I had to start believing that this was something more than what we're aware of, or what's it surrounds us, and we're not even aware of it. Call them guides, call it Jiminy Cricket, But
I wish my Jiminy Cricket would speak to me out loud in English so that I wouldn't think, is that...
Well, you know what? I have to tell you something very strange.
Right.
That, and I don't know, how open you want me to be on the...
No, I want you to be completely open.
Okay. Well, what happened was... I was, again, with my children. This is really what...
I'll tell you what. Let's make this a cliffhanger. We're going to come back in just a couple of moments and continue our conversation with Betty Spencer. We're talking about health and astrology. You can find Betty at bettyspencer.com, bettyspencer.com. Coming up here on Late Night Health in, 15 minutes or so, maybe a little bit less, we're going to speak about working the future today. WTF with Whitney Bosberg. Don't go away. More coming up here on Late Night Health. We thank Uncle Daryl, the insane Daryl Wayne, for everything he does here on Late Night Health. Join us at latenighthealth.com.
Betty Spencer's website is very nice, by the way.
Yes, it is. I looked at it earlier today. Very clean. All right, we'll be back.
You're listening to Late Night Health with Mark Alyn. The show continues in a moment.
Welcome to Guide to the Soul. This is Robert Clancy. You are a beautiful masterpiece of celestial art. God sculpted your body, painted your portrait, and forged your blessed soul from the stardust. As with any masterwork, you may weather with age or get damaged a bit along the way. But doesn't that add to your beauty and mystique? Don't ever change who you are. You're loved and cherished in heaven just the way you are. Of all the challenges you've faced in life, you can be only made better for them. The greatest masterworks on earth have all been ravaged by the tests of time, only to become more revered in their inherent beauty. Always know you're one of God's masterworks meant to shine in that same way.
For more inspiration from Robert Clancy, visit guidetothesoul.com or go to the Moments with Robert page on latenighthealth.com.
The latest from the greatest, the best in new music by classic rockers, with your host, the insane Daryl Wayne.
This is Alice Cooper, and if Daryl Wayne is insane, what does that make me? Criminally insane. Stick around to find out.
Many of the artist interviews for the latest from the greatest have been captured on audio book. There is a Volume 1 and Volume 2. Great information and conversations with people in the industry and people surrounded by the industry, and of course the rock stars themselves.
I'm the Reverend Al Green, and you're listening to the insane Daryl Wayne. And I said Wayne Insane.
You can find it on Amazon or Blackstone Audio. Search for the latest from the greatest from Daryl Wayne, Darrell Wayne.
Hello, this is Weird Al Yankovic, and you're listening to the insane Daryl Wayne, aren't you?